The top portion on page 3 of the appraisal is where the appraiser can explain any items on the appraisal which they feel needs additional explanation or justification. The bottom of the third page is often not used, but it introduces the two other approaches to appraisal. The cost approach is not required by Fannie Mae. However, the cost approach may be used to support the market approach. As the name applies, the cost approach requires the appraiser to estimate how much it would cost to completely rebuild the property. The cost approach may also be used by insurance companies to calculate premiums based on the replacement cost. The cost approach is also used as the main indicator of value for properties for which the other two methods do not work well. For example, if an appraiser were appraising a church, he would have a difficult time finding other churches which have sold to compare with the subject church. Churches usually do not produce rental income, making the income approach useless. Therefore, the best method to determine the value of the church is to estimate how much it would cost to rebuild the church. Appraisers usually reference published building cost to calculate the cost to reconstruct the property. The appraiser has the option of calculating the cost approach based on reproduction of the property to conform with its current condition, or building a completely new building built to current building standards. Once the appraiser establishes a square foot cost to reconstruct the property, the cost is multiplied by the above grade square footage of the property. The cost to construct the property is added to the value of the ground or the site value. The site value is typically established using a comparison sales approach. Any other improvements are added at their estimated replacement cost. For example, if the subject property included a swimming pool, the cost to replace the pool would be included in the cost approach calculations. An adjustment is made for depreciation of the improvements to arrive at the final value indicated by the cost approach. The income approach is rarely used for an owner-occupied single-family residential property. However, the income approach is always used for properties which are used for investment purposes. This includes multi-unit properties, even if one of the units will be owner-occupied. The income approach uses the income stream or cash flow from a property to determine the value of the property. The property is appraised based on its ability to produce income for the owner. The cash flows used from the property are valued using a capitalization rate, cap rate, or return on investment. Any property which is going to be used as an income or investment property will require the use of the income approach when establishing value. The capitalization rate is an income rate for a property that reflects the relationship between the annual income and the total property value. The capitalization rate is equal to the annual operating income divided by the value of the property. The appraisal form calls for the use of a gross rent multiplier. When using this method, the appraiser finds comparable sales purchased as rental properties. The appraiser then divides the sales price by the proposed gross monthly rent. The result is a ratio of the sales price to monthly rent. This multiplier is then applied to the subject property's monthly rent to obtain a value based on the monthly rent. An appraisal on an investment property will include both comparable sales for the market approach and comparable rent information for the income approach. Typically, investment property appraisals are more expensive than single-family appraisals. As we mentioned previously, income property appraisals are completed on a different form, which includes the rental analysis. Is part of a planned unit development, or PUD, PUD. A PUD has common areas owned by the Homeowners Association, or HOA. The common area is owned and maintained by the HOA for the benefit of all the individual owners within the project. PUD is different from condominium projects in the structure of ownership of the common areas. As we mentioned, the HOA owns the common areas of a PUD. In a condominium development, the individual owners of the project own the common areas together. A PUD with a homeowners association normally requires each individual owner in the project to pay homeowners dues to the association. These dues usually cover the maintenance of the common areas. Most lenders require this fee to be included in the borrower's debt-to-income ratios.